What's up, everybody? What's up, MGTOW? Alright, let's look at some advanced tribe theory and also why the elite need unchecked hypergamy. First off, if you're still trying to act like you don't know who the elite are, it doesn't really take a top-level statistician to figure out that if the 8 top richest people in the world own more than the lower 50% of the people, obviously there's something going on. And since the top 1% of the people in society own over 90% of all the property in the world, it doesn't really take a rocket scientist to figure out that there is an elite. No, it's not one specific ethnic or racial group. It's a class of people. Ask yourself, who does Donald Trump have more in common with? An American who works as a mechanic in a factory, or Prince Harry in England? In fact, Donald Trump probably has more in common with Kim Jong-un than he does with a carpenter from the United States. And the same goes the other way. Who does a mechanic in England have more in common with, the Queen of England or a mechanic in Saudi Arabia? So when we look at social development, let's take the tribes theory into account. So let's say you have a tribe with 10 men and 10 women. Automatically, the top 2 men become the quote-unquote alphas. All the women want to breed with the top 2 men. So let's say these 2 men impregnate all 10 of the women at replacement level, which is 2. So now you have 8 men who can't get laid and 2 men supporting 10 women and 20 children. So first off, it's going to be almost impossible for 2 men to consistently fend off 8 men. Some of the 8 men will be killed in competition. Then the 20 children, 10 boys and 10 girls, have 3 children each due to improved environmental and genetic conditions. Again, 2 of the boys have 30 children with the 10 girls. Again, 20% of the 15 boys get access to the 15 girls, so now you have 3 men versus 12 men protecting 15 women. So let's say the alphas win again somehow, and the 3 men have just 2 children each with the 15 women. Now you have 45 people, 22 men and 23 women. Now you have 4 men versus 18 men protecting 23 women. So eventually the 18 men are going to overpower the 4 men, and since the 18 men had to develop traits that allow them to work together, they're going to be more likely to share the women equally and work together as a tribe rather than just a bunch of tournamenting guys trying to kill each other for pussy. Then, as the tribe gets larger and the resources get used up quicker, another set of alphas is going to rise out of the tribe and the process is going to start all over again. So Darwin made some mistakes in his evolutionary theory. Besides the fact that his theory was trying to prove scientifically that the British royals had some right to rule over others, he mistakenly thought that nepotism was the best way to breed, and that the classes were predetermined based on their genetics. But later on he realized that inbreeding caused genetic problems, including higher chances of genetic disease, loss of fertility, etc. The royal families had, however, been inbreeding for quite some time, as a means of consolidating power and also because they believed their genetics carried information that they didn't want the public to have. Due to the strict classism and the diminishing population of the small quote-unquote alpha group, or the royals, versus the rest of society, they had to uncheck hypergamy. After all, wasn't it the King of England, King Henry, that allowed for divorce because his first wife didn't bear any heirs to the throne? He married a lower class woman, even though she was still a noble. She was definitely a lower class than him, Anne Boleyn, and the hypergamy was unchecked after he basically legalized divorce, going against the Roman Catholic Church. We still see this practice being done in England to this day, as both Prince William and Prince Henry are married to commoners, which just happen to look much more genetically fit than anyone in the royal family. Basically, classism is not an exact science. Because intelligent, strong, and beautiful people can be born at all levels of society, and due to the diminishing nature of the higher classes, they had to abolish a strict class system in order to add genetics to their own stock, and also to drain the lower classes, thereby diminishing the lower classes from quote-unquote evolving and overtaking them. The bourgeois revolution and the American Revolution are perfect examples of the quote-unquote beta class getting stronger than the alpha class and then taking them over. Then the bourgeois class created the current libertarian decentralized societies that we see in America and Europe so that there was no direct monarch to attack. And by separating the powers and setting up a system of checks and balances, they basically revolted and then created a revolution-proof society with their class at the top. And yeah, both the French, English, and American Revolution were plots run by secret societies, because there's definitely historical evidence and fact that Benjamin Franklin was traveling in between England, France, and America and Philadelphia, and he was plotting against the governments of all three of those countries. And he was also a member of the secret society called the Hellfire Club. This is a historical fact. You can go look it up online right now. Go look up the Hellfire Club for yourself, which was basically a pseudo-satanic, if you want to call it that, club where they met in a cave in England underground, and they used to do like satanic rituals and have orgies. And yes, this shit was going on in the 1700s. This is not some shit that Alex Jones just made up. This is real shit. So do your research, look up the Hellfire Club, and then come back and tell me that shit is bullshit. But now they are still faced with the same problem of maintaining the size and power of the classes under them to avoid a popular revolution, which is why the CIA, MI5, MI6 spend so much of their time infiltrating and subverting popular social movements, which could lead rise to, overtaking the bureaucratic class or something like that. And I was going to do this in a separate video, but since I'm talking about the 80-20 rule, I might as well talk about it right now. Because the problem with the 80-20 rule is that the master-slave dialectic, and now I'm not talking about Nietzsche, I'm talking about the actual master-slave dialectic, where you can't be a master if you don't have slaves. And you can see that's why the American dollar bill has the pyramid on the back of it, because the wider the base of a pyramid, the higher up you can build the tip of the pyramid. And that's why you have these super elite, super rich people at the top. And then you also have super poor people that are basically living off of like dirt and stuff. Because they can't reduce the population too much, because basically, think about it this way. If you were Bill Gates, as smart as he is and as rich and powerful as he is, it would really suck for him if he had to go out and, chop his own wood and build his own house and make his own coffee, if there wasn't a bunch of baristas and travel agents and people to basically he could outsource his work to. It would be meaningless. His smarts and all his intelligence, and he could have $30 billion in zeros in the bank, but if there's nobody underneath him, there's no point in being rich. And it's like, that's why they have to like constantly propagandize people and tell people, oh, you can move up in class and you can do this and you can do that. But really, if you're not born like a super genius, or you're not born like 6'7" and 300 pounds of muscle, you're really going to have a hard time doing that. And so what they want is people to stay in their place, and then they can just take out the smart people and take out the women that are attractive and leave the rest of us pretty much fucked. Because if there was still a strict classism, then, some poor guys would have hot wives because they would just happen to be born into that lower class. And there would also be super intelligent people born into the lower class. So that's why they had to get rid of the strict classism and uncheck hypergamy. So that's all I got for this one. Have a good day and go MGTOW.